Curse of the Sea Rats has been jokingly dubbing itself as a ratoidvania, and one of the weirdest parts about rolling credits is realizing how complete that moniker is. Because this sure is a metroidvania with rats alright. Beautifully hand-drawn rats for sure, but otherwise it's a game that's a very paint-by-numbers implementation of its genre that probably doesn't execute with a high enough level of quality to warrant that safety. Extremely easy combat up to and including its final moments make the game frictionless and its bosses unmemorable, cementing Curse of the Sea Rats as an animation showcase first and a worthwhile Metroidvania second. 4-player co-op is a fun inclusion, but the restriction to make it local only and some negative implications it has on progression systems make it a haphazard implementation at best. Ultimately, Curse of the Sea Rats can at times be a beautiful and even entertaining addition to the genre, but it's never a truly essential one. Curse of the Sea Rats unquestionably nails the rats. Each of the 4 characters is beautifully hand-drawn and glides across the screen in unique ways, usually aligned to their elemental property. You can see this animation focus as early as its Kickstarter. Walt Disney and Don Bluth are both named inspirations, and the handcraftedness of this ordeal makes up a large percent of the campaign, maybe disproportionately so. Because the game is successful in this area, the characters and enemies are beautiful, and watching all of these animations play out is arguably the reason to play. But it's in trying to elegantly weave these animations into gameplay where Curse of the Sea Rats fails, and its cardinal sin is a big one. It just doesn't feel very good. Turns out showing off all those beautiful attack animations demands a lot of frames, making each swing this giant slow commitment. It goes beyond the point of deliberateness and into the territory of clunky and awkward, and it gets exacerbated by the fact that enemies deal damage with their bodies, not just with their abilities. So you have to get real up close and personal, plant your feet, then start swinging. All the while even brushing up against your foe will disrupt that rhythm entirely. Each character technically has a running slash, but they always bring you to a complete stop anyway. It almost feels like you're playing as a turret, with the full stop requirement and long animations for each ability. Each button input is more like a micro cutscene playing out before you rather than an extension of your character that you have full control over. Defensively, you do have a parry, but between its stiff animation and lack of feedback, it's sometimes hard to tell when it worked. Some of this does get slightly mitigated with the introduction of the dash and the double jump, letting you avoid damage in ways that the base toolkit doesn't support. Funny enough, you avoid the plant your feet problem in the air because you can move and swing while you're airborne, so most of my combat footage has me doing these weird little bunny hops every second so I can stay nimble and on the offensive. But no amount of cheesing this system will get around the combat and movement's inherent jankiness. It looks great, it trailers great, but it doesn't play great, and it negatively colors almost all other aspects of the game. Off the coast of late 18th century Ireland, the Admiral's son has been kidnapped. As a prisoner to the British Navy, you can earn your freedom if you defeat the piratey Big Bad and save him. Doing so necessitates your Metroidvania staples of getting double jumps and super jumps and reaching previously unreachable parts of the map. The character you pick is largely irrelevant to that progression. You can play as any of them, with the differences between them being statistics and combat abilities rather than exploration changes. You can stick to a single one for your whole adventure if you like, and in fact, that might actually be the correct way to play, at least at first. Because although the level ups are shared among all characters, the skill progression tree points are not. So if you're switching between characters and progressing them all simultaneously, you're not maximizing the potential of any singular character. This extends to co-op as well. Rather than balancing co-op with aggressive scaling on your opponents, it does so with lack of scaling on you. Because the same currency must now be shared between 2 or more characters instead of just one, usually resulting in your progression feeling a little gimped. More balanced as it may be, it does prolong the acquisition of new abilities, and it can be a little deflating needing to make decisions on which party members get cool new abilities, rather than letting everyone do so. There's a lot of little weird idiosyncrasies like that, co-op or otherwise. Decisions that it makes and features that it borrows from other games without really understanding the why. It's got a Soulsy idea of death, in the sense that there's no game overs and you can make runs back to your corpse to reclaim lost currency. But it doesn't take in the same lessons that Souls made when going from demon to dark, in that, without persistent replenishing healing items, each walk of shame back to the boss is also going to be coupled with a grind for more healing consumables before you get to try again. Then again, that doesn't really matter because you won't be dying. Between the skill tree and the stats on level up, you will very quickly invalidate every challenge Curse of the Sea Rats throws at you. My only combat deaths were on the first boss as I was learning how the combat worked, and a mid-game boss that caught me off guard with an insta-kill pitfall. Aside from that, they're all pretty effortless stat checks, whose mechanics can almost entirely be ignored assuming you come with healing items because there's no heal animation. You can just pop into your inventory and click away consequence free. Even enemy spawns are awkward. They reset every time you leave the room, which can be frustrating both because of how small these rooms are and how often you're supposed to go back and forth between them by the very exploration-driven nature of this genre. There are times that when, despite its failings, Curse of the Sea Rats is enjoyable. Clunky, awkward, and unceremonious as it may be, it still benefits from the intrinsic satisfaction of unlocking a key new move and going back to see which metaphorical doors that key unlocks. But without any core gameplay ingredients to call its own, and without tight execution of existing genre tenets, it's relying almost wholly on its presentation to be a differentiating feature. And even then, that presentation's quality only extends as far as the characters and not the sometimes ugly 3D backgrounds. There are worse ways to spend 10 hours, especially if you've got some friends, but I suspect that the footprint Curse of the Sea Rats will leave on the Metroidvania genre will be a size befitting its main characters.